Millions of Americans took to the streets across all 50 states on Saturday to take part in the Hands-Off protest, a rallying cry against President Trump and Elon Musk's actions on democracy, education, immigration, and other issues. Hands off! Hands off! In downtown Boston, the massive crowd of protesters were joined by Mayor Michelle Wu, Massachusetts Senator Ed Markey, and other movement leaders. Many protesters wore Revolutionary-era costumes and held signs denouncing the Trump administration with a distinct Boston flair.
We're living in a kakistocracy, and it needs to be protested. That's a 17th century word.
Really?
Government by the worst, the least qualified, or most unscrupulous citizens.
Early crowd estimates counted almost 100,000 protesters who marched through the rain and cold conditions. Of the thousands of protesters gathered behind me in the Boston Common and marching to Boston City Hall, educators and the teachers have turned out in force to protest the Trump administration's changes and cutbacks to DEI programs and other education programs. On the state level, Massachusetts teachers are reeling after Trump suddenly slashed a $106 million budget to K-12 schools on April 1st.
And I worry about the future impact that this administration has, not only on their education, but on their broader future. And I think it's important to come and advocate for the future of our kids and what we give them when we leave.
I have trans students who I know are going into a world which is not going to take care of them if we stay with this form of government we have going on right now. So I'm here to fight for me, but mostly for them, and others who are too young or don't have the words to fight yet.
The April 5th hands-off protest was spearheaded by 5051, a nationwide organization. More protests are planned in the upcoming months here in Boston and across the United States. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky urged European Union leaders that the country needs support to stop the war against Russia. Zelensky's proposed victory plan asks the West to lift restrictions on the use of Western missiles on military facilities inside Russia. This plan was first introduced to the Ukrainian parliament on Wednesday. Zelensky claims that Russia's attack on Ukraine could also pose as a threat to the rest of Europe. On Monday, 72-year-old U.S. citizen Stephen Hubbard was sentenced to over 6 years in Russian prison. A Moscow court ruled that Hubbard was fighting as a mercenary for Ukraine. Prosecutors claim that Hubbard, who pleaded guilty as charged, fought against Russia for monetary compensation. He is sentenced to 6 years and 10 months in jail. Hubbard is originally from Michigan. On Monday, Canada removed 6 Indian diplomats, including a high commissioner, for criminal activity accusations. Canadian police accused the agents of the Indian government of being linked to homicide and harassment against Sikh separatists on Canadian soil. India expelled 6 Canadian diplomats in response, including the Canadian High Commissioner. According to CNN, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said the Indian government made, quote, a fundamental error in thinking they could engage in supporting criminal activity against Canadians here on Canadian soil. That's all for international news. Back to you at the desk. Here at TD Garden, the Boston Bruins are taking on the Philadelphia Flyers. Tonight is Boston's Hockey Fights Cancer Night, so the Bruins will be wearing lavender warm-ups to signal their support for all types of cancer research in an event tandem with Mass Gen Hospital here in Boston. The Bruins are hoping to bolster their 4-4 record this season with a win against the Flyers, who currently sit with a 3-6 record. Here at TD Garden, I'm Lena Gustafson for WEBN News. Tensions ran high at the Massachusetts State House during a public hearing of the Special Commission for Combating Anti-Semitism. The commission accused the Massachusetts Teachers Association, the largest teachers union in the state, of promoting unbalanced anti-Semitic teaching materials to educators. The hearing took on an almost court-like atmosphere as Commission Chair, Massachusetts Representative Simon Cataldo, drilled MTA President Max Page.
Mr. Page, I was asking you whether you're aware that none of the resources in this involve Jewish or Israeli experiences. You're not aware. Okay. Cal, can you please bring up Exhibit 2?
The evidence, displayed on screens for the overcapacity audience, depicted more than 28 excerpts from the MTA website that the commission said contained what they characterized as anti-Semitic or anti-Israeli messaging. The resources were only available for member use in the Educator Resource section of the MTA website.
Exhibit 3, please. How would you use this one, Mr. Page? It's a poster of Joe Biden with the word serial killer written on his forehead. Exhibit 4, please.
Among the resources flagged was a kindergarten coloring book depicting the story of a young Palestinian girl forced out of her home by quote-unquote bullies, and posters containing vulgar language about Zionists. Page and other MTA members defended their use of the resources as providing vital perspectives on a complex issue meant to be handled critically with diverse opinions.
These are resources provided for our members to think about and learn about as educators and as citizens, and they were done thoughtfully and professionally. That does not mean one agrees with which one.
The commission also drilled Page on individual MTA members and their social media profiles. At this, one audience member stood up and pointed at Cataldo.
Senator McCarthy, how is this any different than naming them?
Some members of the commission and the audience wore physical symbols of Jewish or Israeli solidarity, such as blue square pins, yellow ribbons, and t-shirts displaying the Israeli flag. Others, like Cindy Fishman, wore Star of David necklaces and walked out of the hearing in protest.
I'm so glad I don't have any children in the school system in Massachusetts. Absolutely repulsive testimony, or whatever you want to call it, from this Page guy. Absolutely repulsive.
Directly after the hearing, the MTA released a press statement condemning the commission for, quote, political grandstanding aimed to demonize our educators, unquote. This was the fourth in a series of public hearings hosted by the commission, though no additional hearings with the MTA are currently scheduled. For JR 103 at Emerson College, this is Lena Gustafson. Post Malone and Chris Stapleton will perform 2 songs each at the 2024 CMA Awards, airing live from Nashville on November 20th. Malone will sing Yours from F1 Trillion, and Stapleton will perform What Am I Gonna Do from Higher. The duo will join forces on California Sober, showcasing a unique genre blend. Co-hosted by Luke Bryan, Peyton Manning, and Lainey Wilson, the star-packed event is projected to draw millions of viewers, with ABC airing it at 8 p.m. to a wide national audience. Historic artists who have graced the CMA stage include Johnny Cash, Dolly Parton, and Garth Brooks, whose performances helped shape the awards show into a legendary celebration of country music. A return to the pop scene may take longer than expected. While on a press tour supporting her new movie, Wicked, the actress stated that she is not ready to release her own music at this time. The announcement comes at the height of highly anticipated release of the Wicked soundtrack. Grande said that her 2020 album titled Positions, quote, did not go so well, and the musician's current focus is on reconnecting with her musical theater past. Pop star Sabrina Carpenter recently brought comfort to fans at her Seattle show. Amid ongoing national news, Carpenter has taken a leading role in voter engagement. Headcount.org announced Wednesday that Carpenter inspired more voter action in this year's election cycle than any other artist with Headcount. Her efforts led to 35,814 new voter registrations and spurred another 263,087 people to take steps such as confirming their registration status and finding polling locations. Nominations for the 2025 Grammys have been announced. Benson Boone, Sabrina Carpenter, Doechii, Khruangbin, Ray, Chappell Roan, Shabuzi, and Teddy Swims are all up for Best New Artist. Nominations for the Album of the Year include Andre 3000's New Blue Sun, Beyoncé's Cowboy Carter, Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet, Charlie XCX's Brat, Jacob Collier's Jessie Volume 4, Billie Eilish's Hit Me Hard and Soft, Chappell Roan's The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess, and Taylor Swift's The Tortured Poets Department. The Grammys are set to air on February 2nd. Next up, learn what British Bear is making his return to the big screen. Back to you at the desk. Tremont Street is one of the longest and oldest streets in downtown Boston. It connects the north and south end and runs alongside the iconic Boston Common. In recent months, however, reports of drug use, vandalism, and street crime on Tremont reached 7-year highs. A November survey by the Downtown Boston Neighborhood Association found that 90% of the area's residents described public safety as an urgent issue. Many citizens and business owners connect the street crime, largely vandalism, shoplifting, and drug use, to an increase in the visible homeless population in the area. Radino Lima works at the Dunkin' Donuts on Tremont and said the store struggled with the right response to the traffic. Most recently, Lima said, the store's management decided to remove all seating.
In the past, it used to be chairs, but people used to come in, lounge, do drugs, smoke, and stuff. They caused a lot of issues, and they made the employees in here in danger, so they took them out as a safety precaution.
Peter DeSoni, a real estate agent who works on Tremont Street, said the crowds in downtown Crossing can turn off potential clients.
I mean, sometimes it poses an issue with renters or people looking to purchase in the area when they see it's kind of a higher volume, a little more dense with the homeless population right here. So that's
Over 1,000 small crimes, the majority of which were shoplifting, were reported in the Tremont-Boston Common area in 2024. But just last month, Mayor Michelle Wu and Boston Police Commissioner Michael Cox announced that overall violent crime, mostly homicide and armed violence, hit record low rates. So what's causing the uptick in small crime and drug use on Tremont Street?
And I think a lot of people in downtown have a lot of concern and care, and they don't quite know what to do.
Andrew Russell is Vice President of Philanthropy and External Affairs at St. Francis House, the largest day shelter serving homeless individuals in New England. He works in the Tremont and Boylston offices and has firsthand experience serving these homeless adult individuals.
There's no denying the fact that in the second time that the city kind of shut down the intersection of Mass and Cass, so last summer they basically barricaded those four corners of that block, and you can't congregate there anymore, and there's a strong police presence there every day. The population wasn't just going to evaporate into thin air, they had to go somewhere, right? And so they've come into downtown Crossing, they went to Davis Square, they went to a few different parts of the city.
Last month, Wu and Cox announced plans to increase police presence in the Tremont area, which some Bostonians are now calling a mini Mass and Cass. The plan also includes mandatory addiction treatments for arrested drug users and longer sentences for drug traffickers. But Russell warns that grouping these criminals together with homeless individuals is inaccurate and harmful.
It's a vulnerable population. The unfortunate thing for them, the unfortunate thing for the businesses and residents down here too, is that there are people that prey on that vulnerable population, right? And as those folks have migrated to different parts of the city, the predators have migrated with them. They're looking to take advantage of this population, as many of them struggle with substance use disorder and a variety of things to try to support that habit. They're exploiting them and taking advantage of them.
Under Massachusetts law, adult individuals, unlike children, pregnant women, and families, do not have a right to shelter. Boston also has the second largest population of homeless individuals per capita in the country, according to a recent report by Boston Indicators. The problem, Russell explained, is that it's an invisible issue. Most homeless Bostonians move through a cobbled-together network of warming shelters, family homes, and day shelters like St. Francis House, which limits opportunities and resources for long-term change.
This is a much bigger problem than let's add another squadron of BPD down here every day, and that's just going to fix everything, right? A lot more needs to be done to make Boston a livable city for everybody that's here.
As warmer weather draws more city residents and tourists to the Boston Common area, the new policy's effect on this vulnerable population remains to be seen. For JR 103 at Emerson College, this is Lena Gustafson. It's a chilly 29 degrees here in the Boston Common. That means it's finally cold enough for the Boston Common Frog Pond ice skating rink to open up for the season. The Frog Pond was recently named in Yelp's top 20 ice skating rinks in the entire country. It's open to skaters of all ages and skill levels, and for first-time skaters, you can rent a plastic sled named Bobby the Skating Seal to help you out on the ice. Hockey and figure skates are available for rent, and if you bring your own skates, you can get them sharpened. The Frog Pond rink is a perfect break from final season for students at Emerson College and Simmons University, whose campuses are right across the park.
And I just wanted to have fun tonight with my friends.
That's awesome. What's it like having a ice skating rink right across from your school campus?
It's actually really convenient. It gives me time to practice more and hone in my skills.
If you see the rink empty during its open hours, don't worry. It's probably the Boston Parks and Rec Zamboni, which runs a regular service every hour to keep the ice in perfect skating condition. Stay tuned for the Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve special hours and holiday attractions here at the rink. I'm Lena Gustafson for WEBN News. Thanks so much, Lorena. That's right, and it's good news for Boston this week. We will be seeing some warmer weather. Highs on Tuesday will reach 52 degrees, though it may be a bit cloudy. A chance of showers Tuesday night will bring temperatures down to a low of 34 degrees. Wednesday will be sunny with a high of 50 and lows in the 40s. Rain is likely to occur on Thursday afternoon and into Thursday night, but the sun will be out again on Friday, with highs in the low 40s and temperatures dipping to the low 20s. The week wraps up on Saturday when there will be a 30% chance of rain, which may turn into snow or a wintry mix overnight as temperatures dip to the mid-30s. That's all I have for this week's forecast. Back to you guys at the desk. Good morning and welcome to JR 103 News. I'm Lena Gustafson. The U.S. government is threatening to ban Harvard from enrolling international students and has frozen over $2 billion in funding. This comes after Harvard refused demands from the Trump administration to change policies amid anti-Semitism concerns. Homeland Security is requesting records on all international students involved in pro-Palestine protests. Harvard sued Trump on Monday and vows to fight for its independence and constitutional rights. The Trump administration could face another legal battle. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg ruled that there is probable cause for White House officials to be held in criminal contempt for violating his orders to stop using the Alien Enemies Act to deport migrants. In a statement describing his decision, Boasberg wrote that the U.S. government is demonstrating a willful disregard. Boasberg has not determined a potential penalty, and he's giving the Department of Justice time to respond. The White House says it will challenge the ruling, but nothing has been filed with an appeals court yet. Starting in May, Boston Public Schools will pause bus service for students who miss 10 straight days without notice. Families will be notified and have 3 days to respond. The change aims to improve route efficiency with about 1,000 students currently riding inconsistently. However, they can opt back in at any time, with opt-outs carrying over annually. Scientists at Cambridge University have detected possible signs of life on a distant planet called K2-18b, located 123 light-years from Earth. Using NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, they found chemical signatures that on Earth are only produced by living organisms. While the findings are exciting, researchers caution that more data is needed to confirm whether the gases truly indicate life. If verified, this discovery could mark a major breakthrough in the search for life beyond our planet. That's all for today's news update. Have a great day.